In a bustling ancient city where merchants and traders filled the streets, there lived a man named Renji. Renji was no ordinary merchant. He was ambitious, ruthless. No matter how much gold he earned, it was never enough. One evening, he overheard whispers of a shop hidden deep in the city's underbelly, a shop that sold things beyond imagination. Curious, Renji followed the whispers into a narrow alley. At the very end, he found a dimly lit shop. Inside, an elderly shopkeeper sat behind a wooden counter, surrounded by relics and scrolls. The shopkeeper did not ask what Renji wanted. Instead, he simply placed an ancient hourglass on the counter. Its sand glowed faintly, almost alive. "This is what you seek," the old man said. Renji narrowed his eyes. "And what does it do?" The shopkeeper smiled. "It allows you to trade time, your own or others, for anything you desire." Renji leaned forward. "And the price?" The shopkeeper's smile never faded. "Trade wisely." At first, Renji tested it. He traded a single day for a pouch of gold, then a month for a palace in the heart of the city. Soon, kings and emperors came to him, begging for extra decades to rule. His name spread across lands. His wealth multiplied beyond measure. The world whispered his name in both awe and fear. Renji, the man who controls time itself, yet in his obsession, he never once checked his own hourglass. One night, as Renji stood upon the balcony of his golden palace, an old beggar appeared at his gates. His voice was weak, his hands trembling. "Please," the beggar pleaded, "sell me just one more day." Renji scoffed. "You have nothing left to trade." The beggar lifted his gaze and looked him in the eyes. "Neither do you." Something inside Renji twisted, his chest tightened. For the first time in years, he slowly turned the hourglass toward himself, and his blood ran cold. The sand inside was almost gone. Panic gripped him. No, this must be a mistake. He rushed into the streets, desperate, wild-eyed. "I will give you gold, a palace, a kingdom. Just sell me time." No one answered. No one could. The people he once ruled over turned away. His hands shook. His breath came in ragged gasps. His hourglass had only seconds left. As the final grain of sand fell, Renji collapsed to his knees, his voice barely a whisper. "I spent my life selling time, but I never truly lived." Darkness swallowed him. Silence. Then, a sharp gasp. Renji's eyes shot open. He was back in the alley. The shopkeeper sat before him, holding the hourglass, completely full. Renji's hands trembled. His heartbeat pounded in his ears. "Was it just a vision?" he whispered. The shopkeeper smiled. "Number, it was your fate, if you had made the wrong choice." Renji stared at the hourglass. He could still trade more time. He could still chase more wealth. But instead, he pushed the hourglass away. "No more," he said. "I choose to live." That day, Renji walked away. Away from greed, away from power, away from the obsession with more. He spent his time traveling, laughing, helping others. And for the first time in his life, he was truly rich. Time is not meant to be owned, it is meant to be lived. Spend it wisely before it spends you. You can chase wealth, power, and success, but in the end, the richest person is not the one with the most gold. It is the one who has truly lived. Do not trade away your days for a future that may never come, because when the last grain of sand falls, no amount of gold can buy it back. Hey, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. And remember, time is the most valuable thing you'll ever own. Spend it wisely.